In Jamaica's ever-heated political climate, the possible appointment of Dennis Chung as the new Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID, has ignited fresh tensions between the ruling's Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, and the opposition People's National Party, PNP. The PNP has made it clear they do not support Chung's ascension to the top post at the country's key financial investigative agency. But beyond the headlines, what are the real reasons behind the opposition's stance? Background: what is the FID, and why does its leadership matter? The Financial Investigations Division is a critical arm of Jamaica's anti-corruption and anti-money laundering apparatus. It plays a lead role in tracing illicit financial flows, investigating organized crime, and ensuring compliance with financial regulations. The head of the FID holds significant power, especially when it comes to investigating political figures, public servants, and corporate entities suspected of corruption or financial impropriety. The position became vacant after the retirement of Selvin Hay, leaving a leadership gap at a time when the FID is reportedly probing serious matters involving high-ranking officials, including Prime Minister Andrew Holness. This makes the selection of a new head not just an administrative task, but a politically charged decision that could influence the credibility of ongoing investigations. The PNP's concerns. It's about independence and timing. The PNP's objections are not merely about who Dennis Chung is, but about the optics, timing, and implications of appointing him while an active probe involving the Prime Minister is underway. Opposition Senator Peter Bunting, a former Minister of National Security, laid out the PNP's main concern: you cannot investigate yourself. You cannot oversee those who are investigating you. It's just a basic principle. From their point of view, any appointment made by the current government, especially someone with perceived sympathies or connections to the administration, creates a conflict of interest. Who is Dennis Chung, and why the controversy? Dennis Chung is a prominent Jamaican accountant and financial commentator. He served as chairman of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, and held several high-profile roles in both public and private sectors. He is known for his outspoken nature and regular media appearances, often supporting government reforms aimed at economic efficiency and public sector modernization. However, his perceived closeness to the current administration, his business-friendly posture, and his support for controversial changes to Jamaica's public procurement framework have raised red flags for the PNP. One specific point of contention is his vocal support for reforms that would significantly reduce the oversight role of the National Contracts Commission, NCC, in the awarding of government contracts. Critics, including the PNP, argue that such reforms would weaken transparency mechanisms and create fertile ground for corruption. For an agency like the FID, tasked with detecting and prosecuting financial crimes, having a leader who previously backed such measures could signal a shift toward leniency rather than scrutiny, fear of soft oversight, and undermined investigations. At the heart of the PNP's argument is the fear that Chung's leadership could weaken the FID's teeth just when they are most needed. The opposition insists that the FID must remain fiercely independent and free from even the perception of political interference. Public confidence in our institutions is already dangerously low. One senior PNP member said on Background, "To put someone in charge of the FID who has ties to people under investigation not only erodes that trust, but makes a mockery of our democracy." They argue that the FID must have a leader who is not only competent, but seen as completely impartial and unafraid to challenge the very people who appointed them. A pattern of concern not just about Chung. While Dennis Chung is the current focus, the PNP's concern is part of a broader narrative they've been building about governance. Under the JLP, they have repeatedly criticized the Holness administration for what they see as attempts to centralize power and weaken oversight bodies. From changes to procurement laws to the perceived politicization of key state institutions, the PNP believes that allowing the Prime Minister and his cabinet to handpick the head of an agency investigating him is a dangerous precedent, even if Dennis Chung is not personally compromised. The process itself appears to lack transparency and fairness. The government's likely counterpoint, the JLP, on the other hand, has yet to officially name Chung for the post, but should they do so, they would likely defend the choice based on his extensive experience in finance and governance. Supporters would argue that Dennis Chung has consistently advocated for fiscal discipline and greater efficiency in the public sector, qualities much needed at the FID. They would also likely accuse the PNP of politicizing the appointment process, pointing out that no evidence has been presented to suggest that Chung would interfere with investigations or act inappropriately. Public reaction and the broader implications. The wider Jamaican public remains divided. Some view the PNP's opposition as a principled stand for institutional integrity, while others see it as political posturing in an election season. Social media has been rife with debate, with many calling for greater transparency in appointments to sensitive institutions like the FID. The issue has also reignited discussions about the need for bipartisan or independent commissions to select heads of watchdog agencies, a reform that could restore faith in Jamaica's democratic checks and balances. Conclusion: a matter of trust, timing, and transparency. While the PNP's opposition to Dennis Chung may appear personal or political, the deeper issue at stake is institutional trust. At a time when Jamaica is grappling with corruption scandals, governance reform, and a skeptical public, the leadership of the FID must not only be effective, but also perceived as above reproach. Whether or not Dennis Chung is appointed, the current debate highlights the urgent need for transparent, non-partisan processes in the appointment of key officials. For Jamaica's democracy to thrive, no one, no matter how experienced, should be placed above public scrutiny.